Okay, start. We're going to go back to 195 and number 6. It's 107a in Baba Metzia. We're going to go through this quickly because we did it last time just to get us oriented. So page 195, 6. Still dealing with trees that are growing on the border between two fields. Amar le Rabbi Yehuda le Rabin bar Rav Nachman Rabin Achi. So Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabin, my brother. Hani dilach v'dilach dili. Here are some things where mine is yours and yours is mine. So laws of, in other words, communal property, which the community could just be two people, but things where you share. And he gives an example. Ilana notelakan. You have a tree, and we talked last week, I'm not going to go through it again. Is it roots, is it branches? Doesn't really matter. The fact is the law comes out almost the same anyway. So a tree that's inclining one way and also inclining the other way. V'anotesa, page 196, v'anotelakan lakan, and it's inclining one way and the other way. Wherever it inclines, whoever owns that field gets to keep the fruit. So again, at first glance, it seems like branches. The branches are inclining my way. I get to keep the fruit. They incline your way. You get to keep the fruit. And he quotes something, D'itmar, as it is said, Ilan ha'omed ala meitzar. You have a tree that's on the border. Amar Rav. Rav says, Hanotel lekan lekan. If it inclines my way, I get to keep it. V'anotel lekan lekan. If it inclines your way, you keep the fruit. Ushmuel Amar. Samuel has a whole different way of looking at it. Cholkin. So Shmuel says the tree's on the border. You divide the fruit. Doesn't matter where the branches happen to go. Okay? Meitve. Okay, so then you have a disagreement that's brought up by another rabbinic statement. Here's the statement. Ilan ha'omed ha'meitzar yachloku. A tree that's on the border, you should divide the fruit. That's not a difficulty for Shmuel. That's what Shmuel says. But it's a difficulty for Rav. So why would Rav come up with an opinion that goes against this very clear rabbinic statement? This rabbinic statement which predates Rav. Where Rav, in other words, where Rav would be breaking the rules of rabbinic exegesis, where you're not allowed to disagree with those brilliant rabbis that came before you. They are by definition smarter than you. So how could you dare say anything? So of course, that rule is broken more often than not, but that's the rule anyway, is that everybody believes that, right? That people that came before us, they're all smarter than us. We all believe that except when we have an idea that goes against them, then we don't buy that anymore. So an appeal to tradition works until you disagree with the tradition. Anyway, so this is so, but the Gemara brings that up. And then Shmuel actually answers the contradiction, which is interesting because you would think that Shmuel would say, yeah, I'm right. You can see I'm right. But Shmuel wants to explain Rav as having a valid opinion and also not going against tradition. So Tirgama Shmuel aliba de Rav. So Shmuel now is explaining Rav's opinion by saying, Bimamale kol meitzar kulo. Okay, where the tree, it's hard to really know what this means exactly. As I was going over it again, fills the entire border. The thing is that a border is a line, right? I mean, and in some ways it's an imaginary line. And if you think of a line in geometry, it actually doesn't have any width, a line. Right. Over here is your field, over here is my field. What could it mean to say that it fills up the entire border? I mean, is there some no man's land that's like a border place? I mean, generally in fields you don't have that. You have here's my field, here's your field. Even in countries don't have that. It's a line. Sometimes in the case of war, you have a sort of no man's land where an area is a border. But I've never heard of a border between two fields that's actually has width and area. It's a line. So what does it possibly mean to say the tree fills up the entire border? All it could possibly mean is that it's equally on both sides. It's symmetrical, like we said before. That's the only way of understanding this, which is the Talmud's problem. I'll keep going. Ihachi ma'ila memra. That's what it says. Well, if that's the case, where it's totally equal, it's symmetrical, it's not teaching anything, because of course at that point you would divide it. Right. Saying it's totally symmetrical means that the roots are equally on both sides, and the branches are both on both sides. And there, even Rav would say, of course, then you divide it. Because Rav, in his own statement, says that what's inclining in my field I take, what's inclining in your field take. Well, if it's totally equal, then in effect, that's what you're doing, is you're dividing it. Okay. Lo tzricha said, no, this is necessary. Ditale tune lechad gisa. that the weight of it is inclining towards one side. Now, the only way of understanding this is that, like I said before, since a border is a line, so the only way of understanding this now is that the roots, because here we're clearly talking about branches, because weight affects branches, it doesn't affect roots. So here the case is very clearly where the roots are equally divided. It's symmetrical, but the weight of the fruit, because of wind conditions, whatever, it's what's the sun? Right, it's going more towards one side than the other. And in that case, Rob is saying that what goes one way goes the other way. But this is the akate ma'ilem emra. So the Talmud says, well, that doesn't teach us anything either, because even Rav would admit that if the roots are equally divided, is what Rashi says, you would divide the fruit. So what's going on? Page 197. Mahu de tema damar le plog hachi. So here it goes. So it says, because you might come to the mistaken conclusion that the owner, presumably the owner where most of it is inclining towards his field, is going to say, yes, of course we divide it. The law is we divide it, but we're going to divide it 2/3, 1/3, because it's most. We've assumed, right? We've assumed divided means divided in half. Right. Because that's what yachloku means, divide in half, and it doesn't necessarily mean that. It can mean divide in the sense that I get 1/10. I get 9/10, and you get 1/10, and that can't be what Shmuel means. So Rav actually says in that case yachloku means you divide it proportionally. Okay, where Shmuel would say that you divide it in half, no matter what. Right? Okay. Kamash malan damarle my chazita palget hachi plog hachi. So it teaches us that that's not what divided means. The whole thing is that divide means divide equally. It doesn't mean divide in fractions. Okay, and now we're done with that. And we've done that before, so I'm going to move on. Page 197, verse 4. Amar le Rav Yehuda le Ravin bar Rav Nachman. So Rav Yehuda says to Ravin achi. Ravin, my brother. Changing the subject entirely. It's still fields, but it's not dividing things anymore. Lo tisban ara desmicha lamata. Do not buy a field that's next to a city. We had this, so I'll go through it quickly. Damar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. So a chain of tradition here. Rabbi Abba says in the name of Rav Huna, says in the name of Rav. Asur lo la'adam, sheyamod al stei chavero, b'sha'a she'omedet b'komotea. It's forbidden for a person to stand in his neighbor's field, or actually not just the neighbor, but the field of anybody, at the time of, it's translated as heavily laden with fruit, but it's at the time when it's most laden with fruit. She'omedet b'komotea, it's at its height. So the crops are at its height. You're not allowed to stand in your neighbor's field when the field is at its height, when it's got the most fruit. Now, why would that possibly be? Now, it's interesting. For the Talmud, it's obvious. The Talmud doesn't even bother to explain. Oh, actually, it does. I'm sorry. I think it does explain it. But Rashi explains it ahead of time. So I'll say the reason is you could be jealous. You're jealous of your neighbor's good fortune, good skill at a field, and your jealousy would cause the evil eye. And the evil eye will then cause damage to the other person's field. So the Talmud says, don't put yourself in that temptation where you're going to be. It's like you're not allowed to visit your friend if he has this huge mansion and you don't have one, because it's just going to cause jealousy. And it's not just the jealousy is a problem. Jealousy leads to a supernatural phenomena known as the evil eye, where you will cast your evil eye on that person's nicer car, nicer furniture, nicer paintings, and that will cause the person damage. So he's saying it's forbidden to do that. All right, so I'm going to keep going. Ini, okay, so is that the case? Ini is always an interesting. The Aramaic word means in. I'm sorry, the Aramaic word in means yes, but when you add a little yud to it, ini, it means yes. They didn't have punctuation marks, so somehow they had to indicate whether it was a question or not. So it means, is that really the case? And it introduces something to the contrary. V'ha ashkachinu. For we know that Rabbi Abba l'talmidei de Rav. So the students of Rabbi Abba came and gave a visiting lecture to the students of Rav. Okay, so Rav had his disciples, and one day they met Rabbi Abba, who was a different person, who went by the name of Rabbah, by the way. Rabbah and Rav. So Rabbah is a generation after Rav. After Rav passed away, he still had these students looking for a teacher, and Rabbi Abba was giving them a lecture. That appears to what happened. So this is what he said. Amar lahu, he said to them, "My Amar Rav bahani kra." How do you think Rav interpreted the following verse? Baruch atah ba'ir, may you be blessed in the city. Ubaruch atah basadeh, may you be blessed in the field. Baruch atah bevoecha. May you be blessed in your going. Baruch atah in your going. Baruch atah b'tzeidcha. May you be blessed in your leaving. Bo'acha actually means coming. Baruch atah b'tzeidcha, in your going. Okay, that's a verse from the Torah. I believe it's in Deuteronomy. It's in the collections of blessings that are in the end of Deuteronomy. That's a great verse, isn't it? It is. First of all, it's a very nice blessing, right? May you be blessed in the city. May you be blessed in the field. May you be blessed in your going. May you be blessed in your coming. It's a way of saying, may you be blessed in all of your endeavors. It's a nice thing to say, okay? But, of course, the rabbis are going to examine that verse in detail and want to know more specifically, what does all that mean, okay? So, Amrule, so they said back to him. Of course, so he asks, what did Rav say about that verse? And the students, who knew Rav very well, give an answer. Amrule, they answered to him, Hachi Amar Rav. This is what Rav said. Baruch atah ba'ir. May you be blessed in the city. This is what it means. Shiyeh beitcha samuch levet knesset. It means that may your house in the city be near a synagogue. That is the greatest blessing. If your house is near a synagogue. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Baruch atah basadeh. Sheyeh nechasecha krovim la'ir. That your belongings would be near the city. Okay, here I'm going to give away that this is already the conflict. Because you may have forgotten, but 3 minutes ago, we said that you're not supposed to have a field near the city. Now suddenly it's saying, may your belongings be near the city. Because, no, the idea here is that, this is the sociology. The sociology is that you own a field, but you live in the city. You want to live in the city because that's where the people are. That's where the stores are. That's where the synagogue is. So you want to live in the city, but everybody owns a field because everybody's a farmer. And the blessing is that may your field be near the city. Why? Why would that be? Why is that a good thing?
It's convenient.
It's convenient, right? It's a great way to live. I mean, it's like, may you be able to walk to work. Isn't it great to be able to walk to work? That's a great blessing, to walk to work. That's basically what they're saying. You know you're living a blessed life if you can walk to work, okay? However, we just had a teaching that said walking to work is terrible. Because if you can walk to work, everybody in the city can see your field. They'll be jealous of your success. They'll cast the evil eye upon it. So that's the only reason we brought up this lovely teaching of Rav is because it conflicts with this halacha, the law, which is that you're not supposed to have a field. By the way, it doesn't sound so much like halacha as much as advice. Mm-hmm. It starts with Rav Yehuda saying to Rav Achi, my brother, let me give you some advice. Actually, it was his teacher. So whether it's advice or law, now when a rabbi gives advice, sometimes it becomes law. Not nowadays, but in the Talmud, the writers of Jewish law are going to say, hey, that rabbi says it must be law. But we have Rav, an earlier source, who says that that's a great blessing to have your field right next to the city, really, but right next to your home. I'm going to keep going, and that's the only reason we need this whole thing. But we're still going to quote the entire teaching from Rav, because that's what we do, but also it's a lovely teaching. Baruch atah bevoecha. May you be blessed in your coming. Shelo timscha ishtecha sveik nida b'sha'a bi'archa min haderech. What does that mean? Blessed be you in your coming home. You shouldn't come back from your out-of-town trips and find that your wife is in a state of doubtful menstruation. Would you like me to explain what that means? No, it doesn't mean that. You're only allowed to have sex during if your wife A is not in a period of menstruation, right? That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Or about 3-4 days after, so where you make sure that, because she has to make sure that the flows stop. Okay. You're also not allowed to have sex. So if you come home and your wife is menstruating, it's too bad for you. You're not allowed to have sex. Now, you've been gone for a while, and it's you haven't been intimate with your wife for a long time, so you would prefer that she not be in menstruation, but you can't always judge those things. But at least you know for sure. Okay, well, it's not a problem. But if your wife is in a place of doubtful menstruation, which means like a drop of blood, you're not sure it's menstruation, you don't know what it is, she goes to a rabbi gynecologist, and the rabbi says, I don't know what's going on. This is doubtful menstruation. Doubtful menstruation is, I can't believe we're recording this, but what am I going to do? It's in the Talmud. Doubtful menstruation is the same from a halachic point of view in terms of sex, is you're not allowed to have sex. That's a very frustrating position to be in if you're a couple, because look, menstruation you understand. And maybe the wife's not so much in the mood anyway during menstruation. But doubtful menstruation is, look, this may not be menstruation at all, but the rule is we're not allowed to have sex. So Rav is saying that would be very bad. So Baruch atah b'boacha, that never happened to you. I bless you, my son, that never happened to you. That when you come home from a trip, your wife will always be in a position where you will know whether or not you can have sex with her. It's interesting. He could have said something like, I bless you that when you come home from a trip, your wife will never be menstruating. So he said, that's not possible. And by the way, menstruation is important. I mean, I don't want to say that. I want to curse your wife, that she never menstruate, because that would show some kind of disease or illness or fertility issues. What he says is, I bless you that when you come home, you'll always know. Right, you'll know what the status is. And hopefully, you'll be able to celebrate your reunion in the appropriate way. All right, anyway. What does that have to do with our discussion? Nothing at all. It's just that it's a continuation of Rav's interpretation of that blessing. But we're not done yet. Baruch atah b'tzeitcha, may you be blessed in your leaving. Sheyihu tzeatzeha me'echa k'modcha. Here's do a play on words. It says, so blessed are you when you're leaving. May your tzetza'e me'echa, those that come out of your loins, in other words, your children, be like you. If you look at the Hebrew, it's very similar. Tzetza'eha means those who come out from you, which is the Aramaic term for children. So may your children be like you. That's what the phrase "blessed are you when you're going out." Okay, that's Rav. That's Rav's interpretation of that verse. He's not the only rabbi that interprets that verse. Other rabbis interpret it, so we're going to read another one. Ve'amar lahu, Rabbi Yochanan lo amar lahum. So Rabbi Abba says, okay, that's very interesting what Rav said. Let me tell you what my teacher, Rabbi Yochanan, said about the same verse. Okay? Continue. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time. Ella. So this is what Rabbi Yochanan said. Baruch atah ba'ir. Blessed are you in the city. Sheyehei beit hakisei. Samuch l'shulchanei. For him, may you be blessed in the city means that may your table always be near a bathroom. That's basically what it means. You should always be close to a bathroom. So implicitly, now it's going to become explicit in a second. Implicitly, you're going to say living close to a bathroom is much more important than living close to a synagogue. if you have to choose what to live near, it's better that you pick living near a bathroom than living near a synagogue. He's saying that he's implicit, but it'll become explicit in a second. Disagreeing with Rav. Rav says the greatest blessing is to live near a synagogue. You think of Tevye and thinking, if only I could spend more time at the synagogue. This guy's saying, look, let's be more practical here. Because not everybody had bathrooms in those days, but they had organized bathrooms. So it's better that you live near a bathroom. I'm not sure this is altogether serious. I think these guys may have been they may have had a few drinks before they said these things. At the same time, I'm not so sure it's altogether humorous either. I think they're trying to define what's a good life, what's a blessed life. But you'll say there's a very interesting comment about the difference between living near a bathroom and living near a synagogue in a second. Yeah.
Well, a synagogue is a communal place.
Right.
Maybe the bathrooms they're talking about are communal bathrooms.
They are. Absolutely, they are. They're communal places.
They don't think part of the house or an
No, they're not part of the house. No,
they didn't have indoor plumbing.
They didn't have indoor plumbing. No, so they would have been. At the same time, they had sophisticated understanding of the sanitation. Let's put it that way. So they understood the need for latrines, but it certainly wasn't indoor plumbing. They talk about these things later: bathrooms, outhouses, public places. But so you don't want to have a long walk. I mean, it's as simple as that. You don't have to walk long to get there. So I'm going to keep going. Aval beit knesset lo. So you don't have to live near a synagogue. The Rabbi Yochanan l'tamei, and Rabbi Yochanan, in fact, had a teaching that's consistent with this, and this is it. De amar, as he says, schar psiot yesh, that you get credit in heaven. Schar is a reward. You get reward in heaven for the amount of labor it takes to walk to the synagogue. Psiot means footsteps. The more footsteps you take to get to your synagogue, the greater your reward in heaven. So it's in fact it's better to live far from a synagogue because it shows God the amount of effort you're willing to put up with to track through the snow for 10 miles. Like all of our parents did, going to school with no shoes. Right? They hadn't invented shoes yet. When my father went to school, it's amazing. So he grew up in Texas, but somehow there was all this snow in Texas that he had to walk 10 miles in the snow But he got reward for that in heaven if you're doing that in walking to the synagogue. It just reminds me of a story that a congregant told me not that long ago. And he was with his father-in-law in, I think, Amsterdam, and his father-in-law was saying Kaddish, so they had to find a synagogue. He was going to the synagogue every day, and the walk from his synagogue, from his hotel to the synagogue was, there aren't so many synagogues in Amsterdam nowadays, so it was like an 8-mile walk. But he was going to, and the father-in-law at that time was like in his mid to late 70s, in good shape, but mid to late 70s, but he's going to walk the 10 miles to the synagogue. I think it was Shabbat. He was going to walk the 10 miles, and this idea that you get credit for that walk. You get credit for the davening, you get credit for that walk, and the amount of effort you put into something gives you a greater reward. That's basically what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. He also might say you get the reward in heaven, but also on a psychological level, the amount of effort you put into something important increases your sense of satisfaction and reward. Right. Whereas, of course, you have to dash to the bathroom. It's not a great mitzvah to go to the bathroom. But the fact that you have to put effort into a mitzvah, in fact, increases your reward, which is very different than when we think of the religious life right now. You better make it convenient for me, or I'm not showing up. I'm fetching a bit as a rabbi, but that's in essence the attitude of most American Jews nowadays. Make it convenient for me, or I've got no interest in it. Whereas Rav had exactly the interest. You don't want it convenient because you want something where you have to struggle. If you have to struggle for it, you'll get a greater reward for it. So make it accessible, but this idea of making it convenient and easy for everybody, then if it's convenient and easy, what are you getting out of it, really? That's what Rabbi Yochanan would say. What are you getting out of it? You're just getting some other thing like any other convenience in American society. But if you make it difficult but accessible, where you have to put in the time and the effort, you'll feel better about it. Now, I think you all who come to Morning Minyan get that, because it's not so easy to get here. And it's not so easy to understand the service, but you put in the time and the effort, and so the reward is much greater. So, this is, even then you can see he's sort of preaching against the culture of convenience. Things that are really valuable take work and effort. Not everything is going to be super convenient for you. So don't expect institutions to always make things convenient and easy for you. It's a good sermon, right? But he was a rabbi. He's making a sermon. Yeah.
It sounds like the hair shirt lesson.
A hair shirt is suffering for the sake of suffering. This is suffering for the sake of really getting a deeper meaning and understanding from the experience itself.
Not so much suffering as putting in the work.
Yeah, the work, yeah. It doesn't say suffering. It says psiot. It just says the footprints you take. He would not have used the word suffering. Because there's not a sense in Judaism that suffering brings a reward. But effort brings a reward. And those are different. Sometimes effort creates an illusion of suffering. Yeah.
It shows what your priorities are. Oh, I don't have time to do X today. I only have time to do Y. So, I don't have time. It's too far.
Yeah.
But it could be the same distance for somebody else who says, well, I make time.
I'll make the time, right, yeah.
It's important to me.
Right. No pain, no gain. So, this is timeless wisdom, right? So, yeah.
Right.
Speaking of hair shirt, did Jews do self-imposed flagellation or some kind of self?
So it was not normative Judaism. That's already a loaded statement. But it was not normative Judaism. There were Jews that would purposely punish themselves. Generally, it was under the influence of Christianity, where they saw it all around them in Christianity. But it was not normative Judaism. It was not something that you saw in mainstream.
So I had the opportunity to go to a Chabad Yom Kippur service in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
And the day before,
yeah,
they were flagellating.
Yeah.
For those sins that require flagellation, if I did it, I should get flagellated, and maybe,
Yeah.
So that people actually ritual flagellation.
Right.
With what kind of device?
Belt.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Obviously it's a remnant of still a very marginal practice. The fact that you have to fly all the way to Kazakhstan. But I don't mean I don't mean disrespect from that. It shows that on the margins of the Jewish world, you're going to find it.
I don't know if Chabad does this anywhere else.
I've never heard of Chabad doing it anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
Yeah. So this is very different. Did you know that when you do this, you're not allowed to hurt yourself? This is meant to be entirely symbolic. It's not it shows that you're taking responsibility. But self-flagellation, which does exist in other religions, and does exist on the margins of Judaism, is just not a normative practice. It's this. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So Rabbi Yochanan is going to continue. We had Rav's interpretation of this verse, so we'll continue with Rabbi Yochanan, who says it's better to live near a bathroom than a synagogue. He's got all sorts of reasons. Baruch atah basadeh, may you be blessed in the field. Shehu nechasecha meshulashim. So he says it's that you should be when I first read this, I thought it meant, and I was incorrect. I thought it meant that your possessions should be tripled, but it doesn't mean that. It says that your possessions should be should be divided into threes. So here he's actually becoming a very good stockbroker, financial analyst. That you should have, you should be diversified. That's his blessing to you. Shalish betfuah, and he even gives advice. I mean, he doesn't just say diversified. He says here's your diversified portfolio. Yeah, a third should be in grain. Shalish bezeitim, a third should be in olives. And ushlish b'kfanim, and a third should be in grapes, but things that grow on the vine and stuff. So that's interesting too. So we have a sense of what constituted a diversified portfolio in the 5th century in Babylonia. Page 199. We'll keep going. Baruch atah b'boecha u'baruch atah b'tzeitcha. May you be blessed in your going and your coming, or your coming and your going. Shetehei yetziatcha min ha'olam. Kiviatcha la'olam, that you're leaving the world should be like you're coming into the world. I'll keep going. Ma biatcha la'olam belo chet, just as you come into the world without sin. In other words, actually kind of an important statement there, because what he's saying is there's no such thing as original sin. And they're definitely understanding that their Christian brothers and sisters believe in original sin. They know about Christianity at this point. And they're teaching us something. They're teaching us that we don't believe in original sin. You come into the world without sin. You come into the world pure. And the blessing is af yetziatcha min olam belo chet, that your going out of the world would be without sin. Now, again, very important theology there, because how is it possible that you could leave the world without sin? Everybody sins. What they're not saying is, because this would be a nonsense thing to say, that you go through your whole life without sin. Nobody goes through the whole life. So what it's hiding, and it's hiding in plain sight in the statement, is the concept of tshuva, that it's possible to atone for every sin. And atoning for every sin is what will make you leave the world, including the final confession, will allow you to leave the world as pure as you came into the world. And so a little bit of maybe an anti-Christian polemic hidden here. So one is that there's no original sin. So you don't come into the world with sin, meaning that you need Jesus to eliminate it. But also that you don't need Jesus when you're leaving the world to take your sin. It's actually up to you that we have a process of tshuva, of repentance, Yom Kippur, saying you're sorry, everything you have to go through to do tshuva. That's also a possibility for you. In fact, it's a live possibility, enough that I'm blessing you that you should achieve that. None of these blessings are unachievable. You live near a bathroom. That's not unachievable. It's also achievable to leave the world without sin. But you have to go through it. It's not given to you in the person of Jesus. It's something that you will do. That's my blessing for you. Just as you make a decision to live in a house near a bathroom, you can make a decision to leave the world without sin.
All of this is a great commentary on one's responsibility for all of the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Actually, right?
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for whatever benefit you're going to derive by putting in the effort to obtain it, and also as you move through life, you have the responsibility of the tshuva of taking responsibility for the bad that you've done as well.
That's right. Yeah. So just because I want to finish this question, I was going to stop, but remember the whole thing came up because the guy says, "Don't put your field near a city," and then suddenly we have this blessing that says, "May your field be near a city." So lo kashya, they said that's not a difficulty. It's not. That's always their preferred analysis of disagreements. It's not a disagreement at all. Ha lemihadar leshur of aritka, on one where there is a wall, a fence, where you can't see this. Where you can't see it. Ha delo mahadar leshur of aritka, and one where there's no fence. That's hiding your field. So what the guy said when the guy said that the blessing should be that you live near your field, he's talking to a field that of course has a fence, so other people can't see it. So in other words, you take away the danger that people will be jealous of your field by putting up a fence. Of course, my feeling is that people will be even more jealous when they see that fence. Hey, what's behind that fence? They get curious.
So how do you say rationalization?
Good fences are make good neighbors. Yeah.